And I think that these telesales agents, they don't see a person when they're on the phone.
They see a sale.
They see a sale.
Which is not evil and wicked, but I would argue it's not exactly the best career or life experience.
And I wanted to find a career where I could live within my principles and just stick with it and ride off into the sunset. And it was great. I loved it. I felt like Microsoft in the 70s, 80s, you know, just, it was like right business, right time, right tools, right everything. Like, let's go for me.
Welcome, Karson. How you doing?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
So, Karson, you own a company called Galvacare.
Yep,
right?
That's right.
And multiple other companies.
Yep,
right.
I dabble.
Yeah, you dabble. You do many things. And you've got some interesting depth in the insurance industry, both as an individual agent helping people, mom and pop, with their insurance, and on the C-suite side.
Yep, absolutely.
So tell us about your experience, some of your more recent experience, and more broadly, however you like, about telemarketing as you've been exposed to the telemarketing culture.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, something that I learned very early on in the business was that you're only as good as your last appointment, really. You want to always have a full calendar and have those opportunities to get out and to close and to sell. And the best way that we've seen that be generated is getting on the phones and dialing for appointments. And so I made it a point early on in my career to get really good at the phones and setting those appointments and purchasing leads that would get me into the door. I found that it's a very rare breed of person who's very successful at calling and telemarketing in general, but particularly just trying to sell themselves really to get an appointment. And so I started really looking at, okay, how can I broaden this mold for the type of agent that I can have on my team? Because I was concerned that I'm only going to be able to recruit and retain people who are a little bit crazy like me, who tend to like the phones, who see the phones as this challenge and this exciting thing. And I was just trying to think of how can I make it more fun? How can I engage the agents a little bit more? How can I get them involved? And really what I found was that the agents have to have a lot of faith in the data they're calling, but also a lot of faith in the end result equating to what makes sense also. And so I started to just look at this business as in, you know what, I need to figure out how to increase this percentage of how do I get this many dials to this many appointments? How can I increase that? Which leads are going to do that? What's going to do that? And then just analyzing that data, purchasing more of those leads that then would convert to, okay, get these many appointments. Okay, of those appointments, how many of those are sticking? Maybe this lead had a less conversion to appointment, but it converted over here to better, stickier appointments. Maybe I would rather have stickier appointments than just nice people who on the phone are like, yes, I fill everything out. I'll agree to an appointment, right? And so I think it's very crucial that you look at the data and look at which leads are going to do the best for you, do the best for your business. And then also, what are their hot points, right? What are their buttons to hit? My market was Las Vegas. And in Las Vegas, a lot of people are trying to save money, right? I can have so many appointments if I just focused on the DSNP community. The difficult thing with the DSNP community and new agents is getting paid in a timely manner on those enrollments because, as you know, those enrollments take quite some time to actually equate to dollars in the bank. And so you have to rely on your training to get them compensated all throughout. But how do you do that in a way where the consumer doesn't feel overwhelmed or that they're signing up for things that they don't understand, or that the consumer feels like, well, does this person really have my best interest at heart if they're trying to just sign me up and sign me up and sign me up and sign me up for thing after thing after thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I started looking at, well, where is the comfort level for a consumer? Where does confidence in the decisions that they're making really happen? And it came down to some very simple things. I think communication style is the most important one. when you're in person, people can read your body language. They can pick up better on your metaverbals and your verbals. If you're calling, it's just verbals, right? You get a little bit of metaverbals in there, but they don't really hit home unless you're in person. You can see like the person's demeanor.
Yeah.
Right? I tend to have like an exciting tonality about me, and people can feel that on the phones. And then when they see me in person, they're like, oh, this guy is just a hype guy. He loves what he does.
They form a wholly different relationship getting to know you in person and having you in their own home or perhaps the office, but it's still a wholly different relationship than talking to you over the phone.
Totally. I mean, if you think about it, like their home is their safe place. They know where they're hiding the firearms. They know where all their safety stuff is, right? You're the one going in and you're the one that's vulnerable. And that gives you a degree of confidence and security with the customer already. Because it's like, I'm coming into your safe place. This is not my safe place, right? Like, when I told my wife, yeah, I'm going to be going into strangers' homes all the time, she was like, what? Like, you just feel fine with that? I'm like, yeah. I mean, I have a license. People will know where I'm at. So if I go missing for too long, people are going to look at the CRM and know where I'm at, which means where's the closest pond? No, I'm just kidding.
Fortunately, we've only lost a few agents.
That's right. That's right. No, it's because I recognize that you're going into their safe place. And if you're going into their safe place, then they recognize an effort that other people aren't willing to do. To other people, they're just a transaction, right? I just want to sit in my comfortable gamer chair behind the scenes and call as many people as I can and maybe make a sale or two and then go home. Like, that's a completely different monster compared to what we're doing. We're going into people's homes and we can see the pictures on the walls and the trophies and get a feel for what kind of person this is and what they really value, and then using insurance and aligning with their values to help them accomplish the goals that they really have. And so when it came to me deciding if I was going to stay in the telesales version or if I was going to go into the agency model, that's what really sold me, was that I would rather help fewer people and be very quality with those people and have a relationship with them. I'm their guy. They're going to go around like the woman at the well and speak to their friends and their loved ones and their family. Oh, you've got to meet Karson. You've got to go see him. He's going to talk about this. And they're going to be baffled. Like, what does he do? Is he like some kind of movie guy? Is he like a secret agent? It's like, well, he is an agent. And just having that ability really is what sold me on the agency model versus the
But what if I can
telesales.
Be on the phone in my underwear at my home and I'm making phone calls all over the United States. I'm making the sale. It's more transactional. I never have to meet the person or deal with that. Again, I'm in my underwear at my home and I don't have to leave it to make sales. How's that compared to the guy who's got to get all purdied up, get in the car, spend the gas, go see people in their home, sometimes get stood up. That happens, right? And spend extra time hobnobbing, getting to know them, all that stuff. Is it worth it?
It's worth it. Absolutely. I mean, I think that humans crave things that are interesting. We like to do things that excite us, that can help us push ourselves and get to the next level, right? And I feel like if you're at home and you're saying the same script over and over and over again, and you've had this conversation millions of times, and you're going to get burnt out and you're not going to care and you're going to get sloppy. Something that I think is really interesting that's based on the data that I've seen through doing my research for my companies and how I was going to do things was that during COVID, we had more people getting licensed in the industry than ever before. It was about a 40% new recruit growth between 2019 and 2021, where now 4 out of 10 of the people you're talking to have less than a year's experience out of the total number of people licensed.
So there was a big falling out of those who entered the industry.
That plus like
a lot of churn.
You're going to have a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about who are going to be calling you, because people who just get licensed, they're scared to death. if they don't have any sales confidence or prior experience or any of that. And so they're going to go to these call centers that are offering them hourly plus. And when you go to hourly plus, the manager just wants you to call and learn why you call. They're just like, we're done talking, we're done training, get out there and make some money because I'm paying you hourly, whether you suck or you don't suck.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have an opportunity to recuperate my expenses than sit here and talk to you more.
Now, you say a manager. So since COVID especially, some of the companies that used to house people in a building, they come together, have pushed them out to their homes and stuck to that model. So again, a little more comfort at home. But I'm missing something. Are there still a majority of them housing in a business building together?
So with health, I do believe that they have more people in person going to an office because of the degree of compliance and the level of training particular to telesales with the health space. With the life space, it's been a huge amount of people who have converted and gone to work from home. Because with life, you don't get in trouble if you say the Medicare Advantage word on the phone, right? Or if you say other things. It's a lot simpler to do that kind of a model remotely than it is in health. However, in health, when you are going in person, you're there for about 2 years. They want you to go to the office, and then you can work remote, is what I've seen pretty common. And even then, they still want you in the office at least twice a week to check in with managers, see how you're doing, get a litmus of, okay, we're going to listen to him on the phones and see how he's doing. But even then, there's so much volume that you got to think, do these agents really remember all their clients? So if you call back, do you think you're ever going to get the agent that helped you again? No, you're not. What if the agent misrepresented something? What if the agent omitted something? That's something that has been huge in the litigations I've seen.
And they don't have to do that on purpose, omit, misrepresent. Those are damning terms, but they just make a mistake.
Yeah.
So most of these people, the majority of them are first-year people, even second-year people, even 10-year people make mistakes. But if you call in, about 2/3 of these call centers, you call them back, you're not getting the same person. Some of them are still round robin. They're sitting at home, but it's still round robin. And some of them actually have a policy where you're not getting back in touch with that same client. I use the term client loosely in this case. So we end up with chargebacks, which is no good for an agent career. Chargebacks, I'd say 50-60% is a normal chargeback rate for the final expense life phone sales, and similar, close to that for Medicare as well. It's a horrible experience. You think, oh, I made $10,000 this week. Well, you're going to get charged back $6,000 of that, and you spent $3,000 to make that 10 in the first place. All right, that's common experience. I just gave you standard, regular numbers I hear thrown around all the time. So,
yeah, I mean, you got to think, what does a chargeback mean to the company from the customer, right? Like, how many customers wake up and say, I'm so glad that I canceled that policy? Well, why'd you get the policy in the first place, right? You wanted to have coverage for when you passed away. So why are you now canceling that? Have the feelings that you had when you wanted to buy life insurance changed? Has that gone away? And a lot of the times what you'll find is that the feelings haven't gone away, but they felt like, well, my understanding was it was going to cost this much and it doesn't. Or my understanding is that it was going to pay for this and it doesn't. Or I was told I would have it in the mail and I haven't seen it. There's so many things that could go wrong that lead to somebody canceling, but a canceled policy means that they threw their money away completely, right? I mean, insurance carriers aren't going to be like, oh, since you canceled in the first 6 months, like, we'll return your money. Like, no, you agreed to pay in a whole life policy, most of them, till you pass away, right? That's why they're so affordable. So when you cancel that, you've just literally thrown that away because now your family won't get the benefit. But what's frustrating is they've thrown that away. The family doesn't get the benefit, but the feelings are still there.
Yeah.
That they still care about it and they value it. And honestly, the telesales make us look really great.
They did. I love going into households. I don't visit with a whole lot of at least brand new clients anymore, but I did for well over a decade. I hadn't thought of it that way. On the phone, it does feel like forever. And the electronic, I think you think of if you're in person, at least I do, and I think I'm old school around here. I did almost everything paper for a long time. It's only in the last about 5 to 6 years where everything's converted to almost 100% electronic now. Even if you are in person and you're what I call a real agent in their home, a real professional. And I loved going in a home where someone had purchased their Medicare, life insurance, any kind of coverage over the phone, because there's no relationship, and it was subpar. Every single time they had a worse policy than I had. I could come up with 10 policies that would do better than what they purchased over the phone, and they'd understand it. And they were glad to have someone they knew in person, eye to eye, that they could reach back out to and actually had a relationship with. It was great.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the people who are on the phones, what they're doing is they're in business for themselves. They're in business to get money, to get ahead, to be as effective as possible. And I do empathize with a lot of them because some of them are stay-at-home parents, right? Like, my kids are napping, I'm going to get on a dialer for 4 hours and try to make a buck, right? Like, I understand and empathize with those people. But I tend to advocate for the client more than I advocate for the agent.
Yeah.
Because the agent has a license, the client does not, right? And another thing that I saw when I was going through all of these litigations was the majority of the time when there was a viable lawsuit from client to agent, it was that the agent is doing everything electronically, right? And they're clicking no across the board, right? And they're not asking all the questions on the phone. And the reason why is because a minute on the phone feels like an hour real time, right? Just on the phone, people are talking.
Yeah.
It's so long.
That makes a lot of sense.
And when you go through a whole life application, the questions are so long. In the last 36 months, your limb has been diagnosed, so it's just going through, and you're reading it, and you're reading it, and you're reading it, and these guys just kind of fast track it. Like, they say, so, any diabetes, ever? And then, no. But it's like,
I hadn't thought of it that way. You're using your Surface Pro, your tablet, but you think of paper being more likely to make mistakes, right? But you're saying the folks doing it over the phone, because of the concept, both real and just imagined, of time pressure, is causing them to be sloppy, right? And you're seeing more problems, more complaints, more lawsuits, more compliance issues come from phone sales for that, because of that time pressure, that feeling of it.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I mean, think about it this way. So there were many occasions when I was looking at the lawsuits where someone on the phone signed up their mom or tried to sign up their mom, and their mom couldn't qualify. And because they couldn't qualify, now you have to wait a period of time to apply again, right? Then mom dies. Now, mom should have had coverage if the agent knew what they were doing to go and pivot and find a product that mom would qualify for and get her on coverage, right? I mean, you and I know that there are underwriting loopholes and benefits with different carriers all the time to be like, we accept diabetes if you have this reading or lower, right? But the agent doesn't care. He's just, what's going to pay me the biggest commission? And I hope that she gets approved.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that these telesales agents, they don't see a person when they're on the phone.
They see a sale.
They see a sale.
Which is not evil and wicked, but I would argue it's not exactly the best career or life experience.
when I read it, I thought to myself, like, that's like as if a doctor who performs a lot of surgeries didn't sleep good and he performed bad surgery and someone died. Like, it doesn't matter what your intention is. It doesn't make you evil, but there's a consequence.
There is a consequence, yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't matter. Your intention doesn't matter.
The whole system ends up in suboptimal results.
Right.
Okay. And sometimes just really piss poor results.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there are, like the in-person agency model, there are a lot of remarkable people, but I do think that they're very few and far in between that can actually remember their clients and value their clients and pivot and know the right type of product to put their clients in. I don't think that there are very many of them, though, just from what I've seen. I mean, I would go to people's homes and they're like, yes, people, right? The best client in the world sometimes, right? And they have 3 life policies.
Yeah.
They're paying like $150 a month and they have 3 life policies they don't even know about. It's like, oh, here's my stack of mail. Like, I haven't gone through it. And I'm like, well, what are you paying for every month to insurance people? And they're like, I don't even know. Like,
that same person, the 3 life policies you can find
right.
that they know about. Mm-hmm. They may have some, especially if they did purchase them online, they've completely forgot about. Unless they're really watching their bills come through their bank. And even then, they may see a bill they think is one thing that began as a life insurance policy they purchased over the phone. Right? Again, suboptimal results. It's not fun. One thing I want to throw into this conversation is renewals. Right? You're selling everything over the phone, and you're getting chargebacks, suboptimal results. Let's say you don't even get any chargebacks. These people are not necessarily clients for life. Again, a master broker like me gets to go into their household and it's like stealing candy from a baby. It's the easiest thing in the world. You're not seeing that. If you sell Mrs. Smith in Florida as an insurance agent, you sell her a life insurance policy, you're on the phone, you crack the best joke she's ever heard. She loves you. And she gets the life insurance coverage that she wants. And then Lacey, agent, who lives 10 miles down the road, comes and sees her in her home, and she has the same coverage for $10 cheaper a month, then you're done. You're toast, okay? You're forgotten about. Your best jokes, can't even remember them, all right? Because Lacey's right there. She knows her eyeball to eyeball. There's a real relationship. She has an address in the same town, and she can reach out to her in person. She probably has an office, so it's not the same. So Lacey, the local agent, gets the renewals for 3 years, for 10 years, for 25 years. She gets that passive income. The phone sales agent, good luck. Good luck. What I think the best part of this business is, from a professional standpoint, is renewals isn't a thing if you're doing it over the phone. It's not a thing.
Definitely.
Let's switch gears a little bit, okay? Let's talk about your start to this career, all right? Because I think it's a little fascinating. It's a little different from your average agent. And how did you get interested in insurance of all things in the first place? And then how did you come into this industry?
Yeah, I mean, I love telling the story. So for me, it was a principle that really drew me to the industry. And it drew me to the industry before I even knew I wanted to be in insurance. And that was that I wanted to find a way to protect people, help the community, but not have a ceiling as far as my growth goes. Those were my principles that I was looking for. And so I started in pest control. I did that for quite some time, did really well at that, and came home, had a big bag to live off of, and I wanted to find a career where I could live within my principles and just stick with it and ride off into the sunset. And I started looking at anything that could do renewals, right? That I felt like was ethical and moral. And I decided that insurance was the way to go. And why I settled on life and health is because I've met a lot of people and none of them have argued if they're going to die or not. It's just a fact, right? And then I think the other part is that people stress about emergencies, right? They do. They just stress about them. They don't know what's going to happen if they go to the hospital, if their coverage is going to work or not going to work. And like I've experienced that growing up. My family wasn't insured. My dad is a chiropractor, self-employed. So he was our insurance. He would just help us get better as best as he could. And he had a network of friends that would give it to us for a cheap price. But like I was terrified to break a bone because then you go to the hospital and who knows, right? And so I wanted to have that as a part of my offering. And I started looking at different business models. Fortunately, I actually had a coach who I grew up with playing baseball for. He loved me as a player, gave me some great insights on choosing the right kind of a model. I went to 11 interviews. And when I got done with my interviews, I was like, okay, I went to my mother, who is a corporate investigator. And I was like, I've talked to a lot of people, and there's just like heebie-jeebies about quite a few of them. Like a lot of insurance guys are Wolf of Wall Street types, like get out there and sling insurance and make money and chucking Rolexes. And it's like, that's not for me, right? Like that's just not my style. And then you have the other guys who are like incredibly awkward, who just don't know what they're doing, don't know anything about people, and I just couldn't really rally behind them. And then when I came to Legacy, I saw the right tools, I saw the right instruments, I saw a great culture that was very attractive. And just day one, when I came in an interview, I don't even know who gave the presentation. It wasn't you. You were out.
No.
But the presenter liked my questions, liked what I was saying, and had me go and interview with Wayne Gray immediately. And when I started talking to Wayne, and Wayne's like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. And I guess he really liked the way I carried myself. I was very confident and liked my work history, liked that I did door-to-door and was like tooth to the grindstone type, return missionary. And he's just like, well, we just got to wrap our arms around you. And we gotta find a way to just bolster you and make you be what you see yourself as. Because I don't know what that is, but I could tell it's great. And I was like, wow, this feels really good. And then, I don't know if you know this, but we left. He took me to Applebee's. Mm-hmm. And then we came back, and he was like, well, now you got to talk to Larry. You've got to talk to Larry. He's back now. So then I talked to you, and you were like, so work history.
You were young.
Yeah.
You were young. So,
I was. Yeah. This is, to give you guys some reference, this is about 5 years ago now. And you're just like, it's not that strong. I'm like, I'll show you. Like, I will show you what's going to happen. I was like, I already know. The first month or two, I'm going to suck because I like to know everything I can and then create my own thing that will work and then go for it. And that's pretty much what happened. December flopped, holidays, whatnot. I took advantage of that. January did.
Yeah, you started like mid-September, just before Christmas, somewhere around there.
I think I interviewed November, mm-hmm. and then studied for the tests and everything, got licensed mid-December, and then was really rocking and rolling end of January, beginning of February. And then COVID happened February, and then March happened where I teamed up with a senior agent, and we did about 48 indemnity policies that month together, just going through his book. And I was calling all of his clients and really using COVID as a...
COVID was amazing, if I can interject this. When March dawned, we all got stories about COVID when it kind of landed, kind of like 9/11 and a lot of other things. We remember where we are when it was happening. But beyond my own story of that day, we thought we would have to change our business model. We thought it all had to be over the phone, remote, and we were ready. We have all the tech, everything's set up. But what we found out real quickly is people wanted to see our agents in person. Most agencies across the United States, most FMOs across the United States, at best did what they did in 2019 in business. but most of it, they went down in business substantially sometimes, right? Certainly asset-based sales went down. We were up on everything. We were up by 44% in 2020 over the business we'd done in 2019. And that was due to our agents just responding to the task. They just saw their clients, and we had real, professional, in-person, local relationships. And so you get referrals. People need things they didn't need before. It was a surprisingly good year. It was hard year in some ways, right? Trying to get on new agents was horrible, right? The testing center shut down all over the place. And it was very difficult to bring on new people. But on the existing agent side, they had a banner year. That was surprising, unexpected. And you were a part of that. You were a part of that right at the start of it.
Mm-hmm. And it was great. I loved it. I felt like Microsoft in the 70s, 80s, you know, just, it was like right business, right time, right tools, right everything. Like, let's go for me. You know, we would sit on the phones and try to help people understand the value of being prepared and having your life in order. You know, I think most people don't understand this really fundamental principle about life, and that is that you don't just play to win, you have to play not to lose. It's really important that you play not to lose. I mean, Michael Jordan would not be as successful as he was without Dennis Rodman on defense and rebounds, in my opinion. You know, but in life, how many people wake up and they're like, you know, here are the things I'm not going to allow so that way I have a successful life. They aren't cognizant of it, but they don't wake up and think I'm going to do these horrible, awful, terrible things. Today's the day I'm going to start doing drugs. Today's the day I'm not going to do... They understand those principles, but they don't understand financially having things in place so that way you play not to lose. Because you and I have seen it time and again where people have nothing or they have the wrong plan and they go in and just get devastated. And it's like, that's a horrible way to live. We don't know what's going on under the hood all the time. You know, you can have any type of issue that you're unaware of. And if you're playing just to win, you're playing to save money a little bit here, a little bit there so that you can spend more on yourself. Like, don't get me wrong. I go to work so I could have enough to have fun. But owing the hospital for 5 years isn't fun either.
No.
Having to finance things isn't fun either. Having a GoFundMe and car wash stuff is not fun either.
Ended up late in life and having to decide between spending money on your prescription drugs and food on the table, which sounds like a scare tactic story. But I don't know about you, but I've met those people. I've been in their household and sat and talked to her. I've looked in the eyes of folks who their financial situation is just completely destroyed, and there's no way I can help it. Of course, we've been able to be on the other side of that too. Set people up. I started in 2008, right? And in 2008, we all know what happens. September, just the sky fell, right? And it wasn't so bad if you're in your 20s and 30s, 40s. Really sucked if you're 50s and you lost a lot, but you still had a little time on your side. But it was awful for people around the retirement age, right? But not for my clients. I was still a relatively green agent within my first year, and I'd met about half a dozen people by that point. And I like your statement, play not to lose. You can play to win, but playing not to lose, that's exactly what they did with me. They played not to lose anymore, and they didn't. In 2008, stock market crashed. They didn't. They didn't lose a penny. That was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, and we felt that too, you know, like people were telling us annuities are so bad, the interest rates are pitiful, you're not making any money, the fees are bad. And then I think that year the NASDAQ did something crazy, and certain people on annuities got 17% that year during COVID.
That's unusual.
It's unusual.
That's
Absolutely.
Not going to happen most of the time.
No, but COVID is unusual.
Conservative vehicle.
Right.
But indexing, you can get that.
But guess what? Those people played not to lose. And because they played not to lose, not only did they not lose any principal, but they went up, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when I realized that when I meet with people, most people don't understand that concept of you can't just play to win. If that's the case, then go buy penny stocks. Spend your whole life savings on the riskiest thing out there. If you really think that that's the only principle and that I'm off my rocker, great. Go do it. I want to see you do it. And if you prove me wrong, by golly, you're a prophet. I'll write a book. Right? But that's not reality. You got to play to win, and you got to play not to lose. And we're not trying to be the slam dunks, promise you to the moon on anything that we're doing. We're saying, hey, look, this is how we play not to lose. This is how we protect what we've built, trying to make it as effective of a vehicle as possible for when you pass away, that your money does what it should when you're alive and after you pass away. And that's what we do. We help you play not to lose. And most people really got it. They understood that, and they were like, I'm all in. I understand this. Anybody who was mature, at least. Anybody who's been on the earth long enough to realize that you can't believe that bad things happen to good people all the time, just not me.
Yeah.
Can't think that way anymore.
Yeah.
But unfortunately you have certain ignorant people out there. But for the most part, when I would speak to people like that, they would understand where I'm at and where I'm coming from. And doing that on the phone, bringing it back to the phone, no way. No way would you be able to look at me and get the same message if it was just your phone. Telling them on the phone, hey, I've met with thousands of people in their home at this point in my career. And, everybody's a little bit different, but they all value similar things.
And going back to my analogy, selling a policy to Mrs. Smith over the phone in Florida while you're sitting in Salt Lake City, Utah, in your underwear from your home. Okay, that's great. And not only can your business be swiped out from under you by a professional who's local, but you bring up asset-based sales. So you call Mrs. Smith in Florida back 6 months later and say, hey, remember me? Oh, yeah, you had the best jokes in the world. Great. Now, you mentioned you were hoping to retire in a couple of years, or you just retired yesterday. You mentioned you have X amount in your 401k or whatever, or you start asking, how much do you have in your 401k? I think I could help you out, right? Okay, so that's probably a different conversation for her, right? It's one thing to spend $50, $150 a month over the phone. It's another thing to take your largest liquid asset of your entire life that took you most of your adult life to save up and is supposed to be one of the main things that gets you through the rest of your life, and talk to someone you've never met and probably won't meet over the phone and decide what to do it with them? No. No. So the local professional gets that business.